Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is a diet coach and NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Austyn Richardson. Austyn, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
For sure, man. So we're going to just jump right into a couple questions I like to ask all of my guests. The first question I have for you, Austyn, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Man, I'll be honest, that's kind of a tough question just because I've never been one to like idolize anybody, but I'll have to say, as far as physique wise, I've always been a fan of Barry DeMai, and everybody likes to throw out the old guys, but like Chris Bumstead's one of my favorites. Just him as a character, as a class act himself. And then I don't know, man. To be honest, I haven't dwelled on that so too much.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Barry's that's the first time in all these episodes that he's come up, but definitely a freaky physique for sure. So at what age, Austyn, did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
I think I was 17 and I was in high school. And so I had just gotten out of football and I just needed something to do. It was familiar with me. And I'd always worked out a little bit with my dad growing up. And so, that was like the first time kind of going on my own, working out on my own and, seeing some progress and finding joy in it. And so, yeah, 17, I'd say. I got off track a little bit throughout the years, but.
When you started kind of more seriously lifting at 17, was that just at your like high school weight room or was that at like a local gym?
That was both. So I would do both just depending on the equipment we had and, what I was feeling that day. But, it was honestly, the high school gym was a lot better. And then the membership I guess I had a few memberships to a few different places. So I just tried them all out. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was anything serious though. It was just kind of stepping stones to where I'm at now. I got more serious about it. And I'd say when I was 20.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. And we're going to get there. So I kind of like to use that question to transition into a little bit of talk about your childhood. So if you don't mind, Austyn, where did you grow up? Talk about maybe some of your family dynamics, talk about the sports you played. Just paint that picture for us of childhood up to about high school, and then we'll move on from there.
All right. So I was born in Pensacola, Florida, actually. A lot of people don't know that. I grew up in Midland, Texas, which is 2 hours south of where I live now. Played high school football, played football before that, starting at fifth grade, whatever age that is. And my sister and I were just always like involved in sports and stuff and never thought much about it. Wasn't always like I was fairly like decently athletic, but I wasn't like a superstar or anything. And definitely not like the size I am now. A lot of people have that misconception. I feel like, man, you must have been great at football. Like I wasn't the size I am, now as it was then. So, but yeah, I've always had a competitive nature, just need something to keep me driven. I've always needed goals to work towards. And I guess after high school, and going into college, I just never thought about it. I was kind of distracted by the college realm and, got out of it, I guess, just didn't work out, didn't have a passion for it. And then I just started getting back into it. We had access to a great, a rec center there with, good weights and everything, good atmosphere, and started slowly getting back into it, man. It was just kind of just picking up off where I left in high school whenever I was actually training. So.
Right. So in regards to like your parents and stuff, what did they instill in you? Did they kind of instill a work ethic, discipline? What was something that they kind of provided for you outside of just being your parents?
So like I said before, working out with my dad growing up, I was really familiar with the gym. So I was honestly once I took that into my high school years, I was really familiar with the weights and everything, how to train, proper form, exercises for all different muscle groups, because that's how he always worked out. And so it was super familiar with to me. But as far as the discipline act and everything of that nature, I've kind of just instilled that in the last, 5 years or so with my own bodybuilding career. And, being young, I didn't grow up thinking about all that stuff, thinking of the importance of having good discipline and, all the character traits that come with bodybuilding. I didn't, bat an eye over that stuff when I was younger. So I can't really recollect whenever all of that started to set in, and just more so over the past few years.
Okay, cool. So, outside of football, did you play any other sports, and was there anything else that kind of shaped your childhood, Austyn?
Um, I don't believe so. I mean, maybe besides like trying some sports when I was really young, but I can't even remember. I can recall playing one soccer game when I was a kid. I don't remember practicing or nothing, just playing one soccer game. And I remember going to gymnastics one time. I don't remember anything else. I don't know if I went more or, decided it wasn't for me or what, but I can recall those two times. And then like sports when I was a little kid, played some t-ball, but like I don't recall the actual process of it all, like practices and games. I just remember like playing it once and it's done. All right, moving on.
Very good, man. So when you were kind of getting towards the end of high school, what were you thinking about doing post high school? What did you kind of want to be, quote unquote, when you grew up? And did you pursue that? Did you go to college? Talk about that a little bit. I know you did go to college because you said you kind of lived that party college life a little bit, but just talk about those post high school years.
So I went to after I graduated high school in 2014. I'm 25, by the way. So I went to Texas Tech, which is here in Lubbock, where I live now. And growing up in Midland, just like surrounded by the oil field, I thought I'd be a petroleum engineer, live out my life, and just embedded in the oil field. And everything comes full circle. Anyways, I'll get there in a minute. But so I went to Tech. Was in the petroleum engineering, just didn't enjoy it at all. It was just like hard to stay focused in classes and everything else. I just wasn't enjoying it. So switched my major a few times and ended up in the kinesiology world, that with nutritional sciences, which is what I had my bachelor's degree in. Sorry. And so, I got my bachelor's in kinesiology and nutritional sciences. Never thought I'd use it for anything outside of my own like personal benefit. And it's helped me a lot with coaching, obviously, and, training people in person, which I don't do professionally, so to speak, but I've always, trained with friends or clients if they're in, if I can get with them in person. And I've, just applied that knowledge to my own background with the gym. And so, anyways, back to, I guess, what I thought my future to be. So I graduated college, ended up going back to Midland, working in the oil field, of course, hated it. And, that wasn't very long ago. And then now here I am where I'm at now, pursuing, firefighting and, the medical realm and EMT. So I wouldn't say I hated the oil field. This is not for me, which is funny just because, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I thought that's what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life.
Right. No, and you're only 25, man. You got a God willing, a lot of life ahead of you and a lot more experiences, but life is very interesting. So how did you kind of land? You said you changed your major a few times. How did you end up landing with the exercise science, nutritional sciences? Was that kind of just based off of you really starting to take your lifting and bodybuilding seriously, and you kind of like, hey, this is something I'm really interested in, why don't I study this? Or was there another reason behind that?
No, that's exactly right. And see, I got into it 2015, 2016, really, I think. And at that time I was kind of like in between majors. And so once I found out about exercise science and nutritional sciences, I didn't know what all it'd be about, just because there's a lot of science behind training that I was unfamiliar with. For me, it was just eat and go to the gym, work out. Like that was it. It wasn't so technical, but going that route kept me interested in school. And so it's like, I got to do something. I'm not going to drop out of school. Bad grades aren't an option. So I got to figure out something that I enjoy doing. And so that's kind of the route I went with that.
So let's talk about let's talk about, before we get into kind of the fire and EMT stuff, because that is definitely, like I said before we hit record, a respectable field, and I'm interested to kind of figure out how you got into that. But you said earlier that you really started to kind of take your strength training, lifting weights serious at the age of 20. So what was the impetus for you to start taking the lifting serious? And did you kind of start right away with the bodybuilding stuff, or has that happened later on after you initially started taking the lifting serious at 20?
Okay. So I got, so I was going to the gym and, just started getting into it, seeing some progress, seeing the results. And like, I wasn't always, even though I started like working out in high school and was familiar with it, I wasn't just one of those kids that's, ectomorph and, just genetically had like decent structure. I was kind of like, somewhere right in the middle, always like a bigger person, maybe a little chubby, whatever, not fat, but, so I started getting into it, seeing some good results. And my sister and my fiance are both IFBB pros, and my sister competed. She lived up in Colorado at the time, and, she was doing a couple shows there, and, met some people at the gym that got her into it. And so I went to, it was the first bodybuilding show I ever went to. And it was, I think, her second show she ever competed in. And so went up to Colorado, saw that. And, at the time I was working out and I was really like, I was enjoying it. I was kind of starting to discover bodybuilding on Instagram and stuff, following different accounts, which the people I was following then are not actually bodybuilders like I thought they were, more so just like fitness influencers, whatnot. And so, anyways, we, I saw my sister compete, and then, right then I was like, this is what I want to do. And that was like June or July of 2016. And so that following April, I got with the coach that was coaching her, which is a friend of mine. He ended up coaching me for my first show. Well, my first show, I think my second one as well. Yeah. And so I did my first show like 9 months later in the following year in 2017. And it just kind of seeing, being at a bodybuilding show for the first time really gave me direction with my training. And, I was like, it just gave me more purpose to work out rather than just, going to the gym to feel good, going through the motions. Like, okay, I can make it something competitive out of this. Then that just definitely just gives me a lot more drive to do so. And then that's where that started. And like I said, my sister's a pro, and I'm not, obviously, but it just, it's just something that, we kind of like, since day one, when I decided like, all right, this is what I want to do, just always, it's just been like the reason for my training. I mean, not the sole reason. I've discovered more purpose now with my training, as far as for myself, but back then that was like why I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so.
Awesome, man. So yeah, I knew for sure that your significant other, Mackenzie, was an IFBB pro, because you have her, listed in your bio. So obviously I went to her bio. I was like, that's kind of cool. But your sister is an IFBB pro, which I didn't know. That's awesome, man. So you gotta, that's definitely something you've got to check off, right? To be a part of the family.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess so. Of course I'm slacking over here, but no, it's cool, man. It really is. Cause it's kind of, like I said, it was just like, my lifestyle or my life has broadened a lot since those initial days, but it really is just, it was all we did. We'd train, eat, sleep type thing. We'd hang out, and, I'd call my sister, we'd go to the gym or whatever. And, and then I met my fiance, and then like she moved down here, and it's just what we did. That was our world. And it was cool just having that environment. I don't have that much anymore just because of my schedule and everything. And, back then, of course, I was training in the evenings. Everybody trains in the evening. And so just the gym just was full of camaraderie with a lot of people that, all pushed each other and, motivated each other and whatnot. And so it just like how I grew up from probably like the age of 20 to about, 24 or so.
So I'm curious, Austyn, how did your sister kind of get into the whole fitness world and then end up, receiving and earning her IFBB pro card?
So she she moved to Colorado right after high school, and I don't know the exact way she got into it. She was just kind of working out in the gym, and then she met some people that were, already competing. The guy that coached her, and then the guy that also coached me for my first couple shows, him and his girlfriend at the time were like real into it. And so they got my sister and, like, hey, why don't you, do a show or try it out? And, just like everybody, she started somewhere. Like her day one, her first show till now, man, it's just night and day. And so that's how she got into it. And that was like I said, 2016. So 5 years ago. And I just followed in. Her and I have always been pretty close. So I just, it was something that resonated with me because I'd started working out before her, but she got into competing before I did. So it all just like fell in a domino effect.
Yeah, for sure. What was she up there training out of Armbrust, or was she not in the Denver area?
So she was in Colorado Springs, actually, which there was a gym called Elevation Pro, maybe. I can't remember exactly. Really good gym, though. I'm sure like, anybody at Colorado Springs familiar with it. But I've been to Armbrust a few times. It's a great gym. A really good gym. For
sure. Yeah. I was just asking because I lived out in Colorado Springs, and then I lived out in Denver for a while. And then I've had Dylan Armbrust on this podcast, and then another podcast that I've had, and some other athletes and coaches out of that gym. So that's definitely the bodybuilders gym out there in Colorado. Right. So,
right. Yeah, definitely.
Let's step back into your story here a little bit. So why don't you talk about, you said 2017 was your first competition, your first show. What was that experience like? And then why don't you just talk about some of your competition history up to this point? Because I believe that you competed earlier this year in Texas at the Steve Kuklo Classic. Is that correct?
Yeah, I competed in the Kuklo, and then I also won the Dallas Europa 3 weeks later. So
okay, so let's start with the first show. What was that experience like for you? And then let's just talk about kind of your evolution within competing within bodybuilding. So just kind of unpack that competition history up to this year, and then I want to kind of get back into the firefighting and the EMT. All right.
All right. So yeah, 2017 was, I did my first show then. It was the Northern Colorado Championships in Golden, Colorado. And, I really had no reason to go to Colorado to compete other than the fact that my sister lived there and my coach lived there. So it was just like, okay, let's do that. And so I feel like I had a pretty good physique for a first timer. I got third in the open heavyweights, and then I won my novice class in open heavyweight or in heavyweight. And back then, that was when third place got you qualified for national. So I thought that was pretty cool. Although I was nowhere near ready for that. Then I took another year off and then competed again in 2018. Trying to think. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I did 2 shows in 2018 because I did the Phil Heath in Arlington, Texas. Got, I think, second in heavyweights, and then did the Kuklo again. That was the first time I did the Kuklo, actually, in 2018, and that's when I met my fiance, actually. And so I won my class there, lost the overall, and I needed size. I'm 6 foot right now. I'm like probably like the 252, 253 area in the mornings, which is pretty light for me. Like this is just me like kind of maintaining. But back then I was competing at like 216, 218, like under 220 at 6 feet. So it was just definitely had a lot to fill out. So I took some time, or I didn't take any time off, I guess. I competed again the next year, I did the Dallas Europa again, or I did the Dallas Europa for the first time. I won the super heavyweight class, but lost the overall to a guy that's now a pro. And then, so it's always cool, I guess. And then I went up to junior nationals, still wasn't ready, but the reason I did junior nationals in 2019 was I kind of needed some motivation, and I needed some real insight as to what I needed, like my expectations and my standards as a bodybuilder. And again, so I competed as a super heavyweight at the Europa, and then junior nationals a week later, I competed as a heavyweight. I pulled down, came in better conditioning, but Nathan Epler actually won that show. And so that was just like, there's me, and then there was Nathan up here. There was a huge gap. And so that's when I realized, I was like, damn, this is, this bodybuilding is no joke. There's some guys out there that, of course I didn't know all the competitors I know now, but that was when I first, I just got a taste of it. I was like, there's some serious dudes out here. And, now Nathan obviously being a, top 5 Olympian, like that's awesome. And so, yeah, he won that show. And then I just did a little local show after that, because I knew the promoter and I was already in shape. So I was like, why not? So I went to Amarillo, won that overall, which I don't really count that one, but it's a non-sanctioned show anyways. Took all of COVID off, or 2020 off with the COVID deal. And so I took that whole time off to grow, man. I got with a new coach, Blake Cornett. He actually won classic physique overall at Junior Nats that year. And so I got with him, and, him and I worked together, and he got me pretty big. We put on some good amount of muscle. I was up at like 287, 290 morning weight. It was huge. I wasn't like the best body composition there, but it was necessary for me to put the muscle that I needed on. And so, but like, flashback to that COVID year, my fiance actually prepped that entire year from like February till September, working with Shane Hughley. And that's when she got her pro card. It was at North American. So yeah, it was one of those, she prepped for like 9 months, and it was like, God forbid she doesn't win this show. Like, is it even worth it after all this, and because everything had just been getting canceled. And I think that was the first national show of the year, I believe. And they weren't even allowing, spectators in the audience. And so we had to watch from a live stream out in the parking lot. But anyway, so yeah, the 2020, I took entirely off. And yeah, like I said, got up to pretty good size, like 285, 290 area. I think 294 is the heaviest I ever saw on the scale. I was like, good grief, this is just big. And so then flashback, or I guess fast forward to this year now, January of this year, I started getting ready for prep, and I, started getting ready for these shows. And yeah, did the Kuklo Classic. I got second in the supers. Oh man, that was such a competitive show. Like by far one of the most exciting competitive shows I've ever been a part of. Justin Mahaley beat me, but I don't know if you're familiar with him.
He's been on my podcast. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Him and I have kind of created a rivalry out of that, a good friendly rivalry, but it was a good show. It wasn't a one way or the other. It was really, it could have gone either way, I think. And I know, but it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. And anyway, so 3 weeks later, I did the Dallas Europa, weighed in at 243. I was the only one in my class, which I wasn't too excited about that, but it was all right. It worked out. I wasn't there to win my class. I was there to win the overall. So had some really good competition there between the heavyweights and the light heavies. Some of those guys were going on to national shows after that. And, we're just in incredible shape, but yeah, it was nice to win that overall. Cause I kind of, I've always wanted to win that overall at the Kuklo as well. Cause I just have some history with that show, but I also have some history with the Europa too. And just, being in the overall and losing it in 2019 and then coming back 2 years later to win it was just awesome, man. Really good feeling. And like probably like 20 pounds of stage weight just about. So, it made me it was a reassuring feeling knowing that what I had done the last couple of years, like, man, getting up to 290 it was just miserable. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was not that cool. I was strong as an ox, man, and I could lift some weights for sure, but just getting there was not fun at all. And so winning that show is just, the cherry on top. Like it just reassured me that everything I did was worth it.
100%, man. So a few things I want to kind of pull out of what you just shared with us, Austyn. So you mentioned you hired Blake to prep you. What was kind of your reasoning or your thoughts towards going with a different coach, going in a different direction? And then what was it or what is it that Blake has kind of brought to the table that's something different or just works well for you?
So I'll preface this by saying him and I aren't working together anymore. but that's just because I don't have any plans to compete for a while now. I just, my focus is elsewhere, in the meantime. And so, but him and I, yeah, we worked together for about 2 years. And, Blake as a person is just, I've only met him once. I met him at Junior Nats, but him as a person, man, he's just a hardworking dude. And I mean, the guy, he's capable of accomplishing anything he puts his mind to. He's just very multifaceted person. And, with me being, working in the oil field down in Midland, that's just what I needed. I needed someone that understood my situation, but then also understood where I wanted to go with competing. Cause, he had gotten his pro card, but then also, is just doing so much more in life aside from that. And so his work ethic and mentality in that way just really, was fascinating to me at that time when I was looking for a coach. And he's not like a big name coach or anything with this super impressive clientele list, that he promotes. He just coaches because he enjoys it and, he's good at it. And so the thing about him that separated any coaching experience that I've ever had, though, first of all, I needed to impress him. I mean, that's a no excuse kind of guy right there. And so, I want to do everything in my power to prove myself to him, to kind of win him over in a way. And as weird as that sounds, but that's just what I had to do. And it was a motivating factor to have him as a coach, knowing all that he does. And, but the biggest thing, man, he just pushed food so hard. And even with, he pushed food to a new point to where I realized oh, wow, this is what it takes to actually grow. You can't just eat a lot and think you're going to grow, man. You really have to push the food. And that's what we did for so long. And like I said, it was miserable sometimes. And I'd never been at that point in off season to where I just hated food. I hated eating, just had no interest in it. And, I was seeing the scale just go up like that. It was it was wild, and I know we shouldn't always focus on the scale, but at the end of the day, if the scale's moving up and you're getting stronger and bigger, then I mean, something's working, you're growing. There's no doubt about that. And so, it was just, it was an entirely different approach than I was ever used to. And it just, he's someone I trusted. So I didn't question him. I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's keep eating.
So this is more for some of the listeners than myself, Austyn, but and you being doing some coaching and stuff like that yourself, we'll just say the marketplace for prep coaching and diet coaching and whoever calls himself a coach nowadays is flooded, right? I mean,
absolutely.
There's all kinds of quote unquote coaches out there. Obviously you have the education. I also have a bachelor's degree in exercise science. So there are some things that you can look for in these coaches in terms of maybe some separation. But when you're just getting into bodybuilding, you're just getting into fitness, just like you said earlier, some of the early people that you follow on Instagram are more, influencers as opposed to legit bodybuilders and things like that, because we don't know what we don't know. So speaking maybe to some of the younger listeners, how did you navigate finding Blake? Because you kind of said, I've never even heard of him. But he's not really like a big name coach. He's not the Matt Janssens or, what have you. So how did you, and how do you, what is your suggestion for those listening to find the right coach for them, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So, man, you really just have to, with Blake, I could tell I got a good piece of his personality just from his Instagram posts. And I know everybody says, Instagram is very superficial or this or that, but you can pull up his profile, Blake Cornett, and, you can right off the bat, you see he's a hardworking dude, family man, still makes time for the gym, and just, those three things right there, to work 60 plus hours a week, taking care of your family, and also, achieving a pro card, that just stands out a lot. And I mean, that's nothing but hard work right there. And so, like, I think looking for a coach, if you're unsure, I mean, like as a newbie competitor, as someone just, brand new to it with no direction, I don't think it's always the best thing to go to those best coaches. Like you mentioned, the Matt Janssens, Andrew Vu's. I personally don't think you'd get the attention. Like you need to build that reputation for yourself before you go to, you know what I mean? Like Tom Brady, he's not going to have an NFL quarterback coach as a high school kid. It's, you've got to climb the ladder a bit, and you've got to earn that respect and that right to have a top coach, in my opinion. And so I was at that crossroads where I was like, I don't think I'm there yet, but I can be there. Like, I know I have some good genetics, and I won't say that's the reason, I look the way I look or have gotten where I'm at or anything like that. Like, I've had to work hard for it, but I know that if I've worked even harder and just put so much more to bodybuilding, like I could take this pretty far. It's just a matter of, do I want to, and what's it worth to me? But it's back to your question, just digging into that more, you really got to find a sense of knowing somebody through their posts. I mean, you can typically tell like who's genuine and who's not with what they say. Just a lot of people just bullshit or blow smoke up your ass whenever, about some of the stuff they post, or, it's just real gimmicky and like almost like they're creating a sales pitch. You can identify those guys real quick. And I don't just mean in the coaching realm, but just anybody in general. And then so so you got that aspect. And then also my education does help me a lot. But even aside from that, just the fact that I've been there, I've been 290. I know exactly what it takes to be there. I mean, even right now I'm 250, 255. And then I've also been 195. I've been in a 100-pound range before, and I know exactly what it took to get to each point. And I think it takes a coach with personal experience like that to really, and there's some outliers, of course. Like you've got some 300-pound bodybuilders working with, coaches that have never been anywhere close to that, but they're extremely knowledgeable and they're extremely credible. And that's just, that's just the way it is. But as far as a coach that's been there, done that, you don't find that with everybody. And it helps. Like I have a lot of clients that, when I try to push food on them, I don't think they quite understand. Like it's that same point I reached, like, oh, wow, this is what it takes to actually grow. And I think, even some of the clients I have, they're still figuring that out. And, I try to press it on them. Like, it seems easy for me to just increase food and send an update. Here you go. Add a little extra cardio or so, but there's so much more to that. It's more so the trust. You have to trust that person, know what they're doing. And you also, like, first and foremost, you have to have a goal for yourself. Like if you want to grow and you want to get big, then you have to do exactly what it's going to take to get to that. Because whatever you've been doing before that obviously is not working. That, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's not working, but it's not getting you to that point of where, so I guess the three things were just, finding someone that's that you can trust first and foremost. Second, just someone that's been there, done that, trial and error, and, applied the methods to themselves. And then also that last point, my mind is on blank, but yeah, I mean, I think that's you can understand what I'm saying from that.
100%. No, that's great advice. Now, how did you and when did you get kind of into coaching yourself then, Austyn? It was always something I was sort of interested in, and I've always enjoyed the nutritional aspect of bodybuilding. And then just from so I've worked with 3 different coaches, and just from having that experience with those 3 different coaches, I've been able to pick and choose what I like and what works best for me. And like, I have from day one, I didn't know anything. Everybody talks about learning your body. Well, I've been able to do that between 3 different coaches. And, sorry, say the question again one more time. Just how did you get into coaching, and why did you get into coaching yourself?
Oh yeah. And so it's been something I'm interested in is with like the nutritional aspect of things and training, because I know, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but there are methods that work better than others. 100%. You can't argue that. And, I personally feel like I've discovered, I'm definitely by no means like as good as I will be or can be, but, I just know, I keep losing my train of thought. I have this idea behind bodybuilding and with the training and nutrition that works and what is work. And it's a matter of like people actually taking the time to do so. And that's what with coaching, that's what I always hope to get to a point where somebody's been with me long enough to where they can actually understand like my philosophies with training and dieting. And, not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants to compete or, be big and like have this like, beautiful physique. Of course everybody wants to look good, but the levels to it are different. And, I know I'm capable of helping someone get to that point. And so that's what's always fascinated me. And, it's just a matter of that person trusting me and, going the mile with me. So.
Now, something else I want to talk about here, and then we're going to kind of move on from the coaching aspect or coaching side of things. But you said with Blake, he kind of helped you better understand pushing the food and how much food you actually had to eat. And that's something that you are trying to work with some of your clients on. What does that look like for you getting up to 290 pounds? Like what does pushing the food look like just in your own eating? And then how do you kind of work with your own clients to better understand that concept of, hey, like you've literally got to eat more food than you've ever eaten if you want to get where you want to go?
The simplest way to put it, man, is just, you're going to be uncomfortable. And when I say uncomfortable, like, you don't just eat and get full. And I think the word uncomfortable and like suffering is just kind of thrown out there a lot because it's just a common term, just everybody uses it to describe their relationship with something. And it's really watered down, to be honest. But like, seriously, health is preached so much these days in bodybuilding, as it should be. And, talking about appetite and digestion but to be honest, like at some point, those things will be sacrificed. And I'm not saying your overall general health, but their appetite only exists so far. You can only eat so much food and be hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the way the human body works. And there's going to be a point, and I think a lot of people really try to like analyze those like factors within their diet and like, I'm not hungry, so I don't need to add any more food. Or, well, sometimes you're going to have to you just have to push through that. You have to, I was eating 8 eggs in the morning, cup of egg whites, 120 grams of oats, 300 grams of fruit, one meal right there. And then, just 8 ounce protein portions throughout the day. 100, man, I was having 100 grams of carbs intra workout. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you think you're going to eat, go to the gym, drink more, 100 grams more carbs, and then eat again, and you expect to be hungry. Like, it's just not going to happen. Your body does not want food at that point, but it's tried and it's true, so, there's people that have done it and there's people that do it now. And if you want to argue that with the things like appetite and digestion and saying, it's not there, I don't need to increase food, and then you're probably wrong. If you can put on a pound or two of muscle, every year and recomp and look better than the last year. But if you really want to put on some like serious muscle, you're gonna have to do some serious things. And it just comes to that. Not a lot of people are willing to do that.
I like it, man. You're shooting us straight, and that's refreshing. So you said something earlier, and I think you were kind of alluding to your own clients or coaching people, but this question, what's it worth to me? So you've now kind of sounds like taken a different career path in terms of, going into the fire academy and EMT school. So before we kind of get there, going back to the bodybuilding, right? So you competed this year. What's it worth to you, Austyn? Are you wanting to eventually continue to pursue that IFBB Pro card, or have you had some second thoughts about where you want this bodybuilding thing to go in the future?
That's a great question. And, you're familiar with everything that's happened recently or that's been brought into light. I believe that the deaths in bodybuilding, there's no reason to sugarcoat it. We all, if you have any common sense or any knowledge about anatomy and physiology at all, then the underlying causes and effects of it all. And so, it's all been brought into light with social media, but so that's one thing I think about is just my health overall in general. And wanting, is bodybuilding a sacrifice I'm willing to make for another 20, 30 years of my life? Honestly, absolutely not. And that's why I've always continued to pursue a legitimate career, and not saying bodybuilding is not, but there's 1% of competitors making a living off of it. And props to them. And if that's your longevity and your livelihood, then go for it. But for me and 99% of people like me, it's not. And so I don't understand putting so much into something that doesn't give back in the slightest way. Winning a show is great. It's an amazing feat. Going through a prep and taking your body through extremes is such an accomplishment. I'll side with that all day, but there's so much more to that. That's a very short-lived, extrinsic motivating factor. I mean, we all do this because we love it. We do it for ourselves, but at the same time, it's like everyone always says, if Instagram wasn't around, would you still do it? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people love that instant gratification, that stardom they get from that. For example, my Instagram post when I'm in prep, man, comments, likes, you name it, all, it's going off. And then I'm out of prep. It's I fade and I disappear. And, I'm still me. I'm still going to the gym. I'm still eating chicken and rice. I just finished breakfast before I got on here. That's the same breakfast I've eaten the last 6 months. But it's that aspect to me is it worth it? Is it worth all that I put into it for what, essentially? I've gotten all I need. I've done 8 shows. I've instilled a lot of good character traits out of it. The discipline and the work ethic and, you name it. I've got all of that. I've acquired everything about that I need and can acquire from it. Doing another show isn't going to make me any more disciplined than I already am. Doing 10 more shows isn't going to make me any more disciplined than I already am. And it's not going to make me more money than I already have. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the things I think about. And, going forward with the sport, and I do want to compete again, but it's, 2-3 years at the earliest from now. And it's just not something I've thought about since that last show. And, I knew I was going into the fire academy right after that last show. I had a month from the day of my last show till I had my physical ability test for the fire academy, an entire month to train for it. And I at that moment, that next day I got off stage, I just flipped a switch and kind of, in the past is always hard for me. I hear about the post-show blues and people just don't know what to do. I didn't go through that because I was looking forward to just pursuing something else so much more than what I was at the time. And, like I said, I just flipped that switch, and I wouldn't say put bodybuilding behind me, but I've just come to a realization, there's some light that's come over me that's really, just some one-on-one conversation saying what matters to me in life. My quality of life is so much better outside of prep. And honestly, I'd say everybody's is. And if it's not, then they live in a box. Seriously. Because my prep is no different than the next guy's prep. I know what they're doing on the weekends, and I know what they're doing at 5 o'clock in the morning. I know what they're doing in the middle of the day and the evening. And it's the same thing over and over and over. And that's not my idea of living. I get it. I understand making a sacrifice for something, for a personal endeavor. I totally understand that. And I've done it many times, but like I said, doing another show isn't going to change anything about me than that's already changed, through bodybuilding.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate the transparency. We need some people just talking real talk like that more, because that's definitely refreshing, and I know that's going to hit some of the listeners where they need to be hit. Now, something else I just want to ask, because obviously you said your sister's an IFBB pro, your significant other Mackenzie's an IFBB pro. With Mackenzie specifically, are these conversations that you and her have in terms of your guys's longevity together, your health together, or is this more of just your own personal conviction?
Oh, definitely. It's all around. And man, out of the three of us, my sister's always been the most hardcore, I'd say. Maybe she'd say I am, or I don't know, but even her, she's even kind of put it on, had her own thoughts and, things about it, and just kind of her perception of it all has, from where she used to be till now has even changed. And, but yeah, definitely my fiance and I talk about it all the time. And, when we moved back, so we moved from Midland when I was working in the oil field up to here before I started the fire academy. We literally just moved back in late July. And so, and the job that she's working now, she's just started that back in, I think, March or April. And, she was traveling back and forth for it. And, like, man, she just has a good thing going with it. And I have a good thing going. And both of these things just require our fullest attention. And there's a lot of things in life like that. Like, I'll be honest, whenever I'm in prep, there's nothing else that has my attention besides prep. Like, that's it, that's show. And that's it. Like, I'm not, like, that's a one track mind. And, I think it's really good to be multifaceted. And yeah, but, we talk about those things. We talk about, like, our future. Like, we want kids, we want to live a long and healthy life, just like everybody else. We want a prosperous life. We want good careers, and all of those things, just require all that focus that we would be putting into bodybuilding, if not more. And so it's just not feasible right now. And, I can do both. I can do a lot of things at once, but there still comes an aspect where your focus is diverted between two things, and one thing's getting more than the other. And right now, we're focusing on each other, and we're focusing on our careers. And, that's just kind of the realization, I guess. We've just matured and grown up, I could say.
and yet you're only 25, my man. You got so much ahead of you. So it's cool though, man. It's refreshing for somebody like me. I'm 9 years older than you, but it's refreshing for somebody at your age to already have all these experiences that you have and have that mindset, because
I've lived a lot of lives, man. Like, I feel like each segment of my life, between like high school and college, and then my post-college, and then go work in the oil field, and then moving back, like, it's all been and then, like, I bought a house too when I moved down there, 23 years old. Like, these have all been little chapters of my life, and just have helped me mature and reach where I'm at. Like, I've just reached a broader perspective of what I find important. Like, of course, I still go to the gym all the time. I still eat like and train like a bodybuilder. Like, that's just who I am. But there's a fine line between that and, like, just giving everything up for the stage. And, at a point in my life, like, I could do that. I was younger. I had less responsibilities. I wasn't so much thinking about my future as much as I do now. And, but and that's an important thing right there. Is like growing up and realizing that, being actually able to apply it, like applying that maturity and, applying that new direction to your life, which, some people do and some people don't. And that's just me.
What was the turning point, or what was the experience, or the impetus behind kind of this shift of you, kind of like hardcore bodybuilder, and then it's like, wait a minute, is this really what I want? Like, was there an experience? Was there a conversation with Mackenzie? Was there an incident? What's the impetus behind this kind of mindset shift, Austyn?
Really, I think so. When we moved down to Midland, we met some really good people. And their names are Jeff and Pam. And we worked out with them. That was like our newfound like gym family in a way. And so Mackenzie and Pam actually prepped together and got their pro card together. And like, so we had the bodybuilding aspect, but with those people, we also had like an older brother and older sister type of relationship. Like they've got, my buddy Jeff, great career, really high aspirations, a great family, all those things of that nature. And when you're around that, like when you're around a bodybuilding community just in the gym, that's all you see and that's all you know. Now, when you get out of that and you see some success elsewhere, like there's tons of successful people I know back in, in the Midland, Odessa area, and then also here in Lubbock, and success with their careers. And whenever you realize that and you're introduced to that, you think about it for yourself. You're like, okay, so how can I be successful in these other avenues and, have a good, be financially, well off, and just what do I need to do and where can I go to pay this big future for myself that I imagine? And, you also, like me, like you realize like, well, bodybuilding is not going to do it. It's not paying me any money. Like it's gotten me to where I am to have this mind. It's like, man, all things come full circle. It's like bodybuilding has going all in on bodybuilding has instilled this mindset that I have now. And, with that being said, this mindset I have now has almost pushed competing back. So it's like competing brought me here only to push it back further, but it's all good though. And, like without bodybuilding, I wouldn't have ever realized these things. But at the same time, like had I just stayed in, not realize these things, I'd just still be competing and driving towards that, which is not a bad thing, but it's just, it only gets me so far, man. It's a segment of my life that's like, like moving in increments this big rather than this big. And so I'd say just moving down there and just being surrounded by other people that made me realize what all there is more to life, and just, being exposed to different things is just really just kind of like set me up for myself to think like, what do I ultimately want?
Very cool, man. I have a lot of respect for somebody your age with that mindset. It's refreshing. So let's, we're already going on 60 minutes of a conversation, which time always flies when you're having great talk with somebody, but I am curious to learn more about you being in the Fire Academy and in the EMP Academy. How did that come to be? And what is kind of your future mindset, or what is your focus in terms of firefighting and being in these academies?
Okay. So like I said, whenever we just moved back up here to Lubbock a few months ago, and my fiance was already working here, and, again, my initial thought was like, I was kind of under some pressure. I was like, I need a job, like, and job hunting in that particular oil field, in the oil field or any particular industry can be kind of hard sometimes. I feel like to really find a job you like when you're already familiar with one. And, I'd talked to my dad, who used to be a fireman here in Lubbock as well. He brought it up again. And I was like, I remember the conversation. I was on my way home from the gym, and, I was about to pull up at the house, and we just got done talking about it. And I was just like, sold. That's what I'm going to do. And it was, I was like, what, there's nothing better. Like even before I had done it, I was already like discovering my passion in a sense. It's, I guess with the whole bodybuilding thing, you discover your passion at day one, but like the journey from there till now is so far, but you were passionate before when you were just barely getting your feet wet. And that's kind of how it started. And I was just like, like I could just picture it all and just imagining it, like, thinking out, like, I would love that, I would love to do that, helping people. And then, just having a job that's just so much bigger than you are as a person, being able to contribute and give back. And that's something I've always wanted to do, but just not knowing how to do it. and that's not knowing how to do it or how I was going to be capable of doing that in a way, but just something I've always been interested in. And then once, that kind of came to light, I knew immediately that was the way I wanted to go. And so, Fire Academy started back in August, same with EMT, and man, I love it. I love everything that it entails, and just, being around my buddies at night, at the academy, like being around the guys, and just, it's a like-minded culture, and it's just something that you just don't find in other areas of life. Like, it's so much different of experience than, I was, accustomed to and working in the oil field. And, just not just speaking of the job itself, but more so just the culture of it. And I'm only, a few months into it, but it's just, I love it. And it's hard to explain that, but.
No, I definitely understand, where you're coming from. Now, what has been something, you've only been in the academy for a few months. First of all, how long will you be in the academy for? And then second of all, what's something that maybe going into the academy, you kind of were like, hey, I'm pretty sure it's going to be like this, or what have you, but what's maybe something already during your time in the academy that has changed your mind, or you've realized it's not really like what I thought it was going to be. So how long will you be in the academy? And then how has your mindset already changed within the academy?
So I'll be done with my EMT after this semester, my EMT basic. And I need that to most departments require that to be hired on. And then academy will be over in May. So it's a full 2 semesters, through college here. And so 2 full semesters. So it's quite, every department and every academy is different. Like, some of them run it a lot shorter, but it's a lot longer days. Ours is, 6 to 10 PM and then every other Saturday. So we're able to, they have to stretch it out a bit. But, I guess one thing I'd say that's different than I thought, just more so talking to the guys, that are already, full-time firefighters, is like the amount of fire that they actually don't put out versus like the medical calls and stuff, which is cool. It's all part of the job, like, you're needed to help somebody on their worst day. And like, of course, you're going to have a lot more medical calls than you are, fire responding to structure fires. And that's just the nature of it. But either way, it doesn't change my mind about it. It doesn't make me think anything different of it. But, thankfully I do enjoy the medical side of it, because EMT, it's pretty wild. They, like we have ride-alongs that we're doing right now, and, in the back of an ambulance, and, you're practicing your skills on live patients with real problems, and there's no way you can warm up to that. Just throw you out there. And, I've kind of wanted to mention this on my Instagram, but I just haven't, with the way bodybuilding, with the deaths of bodybuilders lately and how it's been brought into light, and people are so surprised by it. Like, man, just last Friday, we had a call with, a woman, 36 years old, cardiac arrest, with a family and everything. And like, those are things that it can happen to anybody. And so it's like, these bodybuilders, everybody's so surprised by these bodybuilders in their, their 40s or 50s. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done, like your time ticker, it's just going to stop eventually one day. And so that's, another part that's brought light into me, is just, just take care of yourself and do everything you absolutely want to do, and, pursue it all, and, make the most of it. And so, if there's things that you can avoid for sure, the extremes of bodybuilding, then why not avoid them? Because, life's not promised to anybody, whether you're a bodybuilder or not. It's just the way it goes.
No, that's 100% right. So whether it's a coach, a bodybuilder, or maybe just, you kind of referenced Jeff and Pam. Has there been somebody kind of in your adulthood through all these experiences that has been kind of a mentor to you, or somebody that has really spoken into your life, whether that's somebody face to face, or maybe it is somebody on Instagram, is there one person or a couple people that you really appreciate what they've done for you in terms of some sort of mentorship or some words that they've shared with you, Austyn, or not?
You know, I really, I wouldn't single it down to one person, because each person's kind of, you know, had their own share and their own part in it all. And, you know, like Blake, for instance, you know, just his work ethic and mentality. And then, you know, Jeff just being so multifaceted and, you know, having you know, right now he's in the process of, you know, building a gym and then having a family. And then, you know, and then all these things is making me, you know, and then like during the time of all this, like for these people to do one thing outside of their norm, you know, working out, you know, that you just have to realize, like, sometimes you're not always going to be able to make it to the gym. Sometimes you're not always going to be perfect in this one aspect, but you're going to contribute more to this other aspect. And, you know, just knowing the successful people I know, and I can't think of everyone on top of my head, but it's all just kind of, it all resonates with me. You know, even my instructors in the academy, you know, just hearing them talk and, you know, knowing what they do for work and do outside of work. And just, you know, like the mindset we talk about when we have those, you know, those moments at the end of class when we're just kind of just chatting, all of that, you know, resonates with me. And, you know, I'm able to just build off of it and take what I want from it and apply it to, you know, any area of my life that I want to, and, you know, how I want to. And so, you know, there's definitely a lot of people for sure. You know, I also see that, like, the life other people have lived outside of bodybuilding, you know, just my friends and, you know, people also that I don't know. And, you know, I've lived it for myself as well. And I've kind of, you know, it's just over the years, I've kind of put the puzzle pieces together of what I like and what I don't like, and when I'm happiest and when I'm least happiest, and, you know, what I want out of myself and what I want around me and in my life, and, you know, what things to, you know, take out. And it's just kind of like, it's all led to where I'm at now. And, you know, it's just just a process of elimination over the years. And, you know, it'll be that way going forward too, just kind of like refining and manufacturing exactly how I want my life.
So we're going to wrap up our conversation. I would like you to kind of just share, Austyn, with maybe that listener or some of those listeners that, you know, they've been deep into competing, they've been deep into bodybuilding, but they've maybe been having some similar thoughts here lately that you've had in terms of, like, is this really what I want to do for the long haul, right? What would you, what encouragement, what words would you kind of share with those listeners, or that kind of at that crossroads within their bodybuilding, competing or career, you know, and maybe thinking about some other stuff? What would you want to say to them? What are some encouraging words or words you'd like to speak to them?
You know, first of all, I think it's important. Everyone needs to step out of the thinking they are somebody through social media. Your followers are going to perceive you in a certain way, you know, good or bad, whatever. And none of that matters. You know, your friends, you know, I have a lot of great friends that I've made through social media, whether I've met them or not, but just through the conversations we've had, like, I know they're good people. But aside from that, man, you really just, you know, you need to find yourself and, you know, find out, you know, what matters to you, what means most to you. And I think the biggest thing is just, like, take away the good from these experiences that you have, you know, such as the takeaway I've had through my years of competing. And, you know, I say that like I've competed for 20 years, but I don't need to compete for 20 years to find out what I figured out in the last 5 years or 4 years, whatever. And, you know, I've had plenty of takeaways that I'm able to apply to my life now that have really just, like, made it that much better. And just improve my quality of life, just, you know, through listening to myself. And what I mean by that is, you know, gathering my experiences and my thoughts and really just filtering them out, and, you know, figuring out what benefits me and what doesn't, and who benefits me and who doesn't. And, just kind of, you know, taking life in that direction rather than just being imprinted as like, I'm a bodybuilder, so I have to do this, or I have to post this, or I have to look a certain way. You know, like whenever you can train and eat and do all that strictly for yourself without the thought of competing, or, you know, the thought of posting a picture because you look a certain way, like when you do it for yourself because you enjoy it, and you feel good and your thoughts are good and everything's good, then like, you know, that's when you reach a realization of like the importance of it more so rather than the instant fame and the instant gratification side of it. So it just comes down to just, you know, just learning yourself, you know, and not being so influenced by other people's lives around you that have nothing to do with you.
Excellent, man. Do you, are you a book reader, Austyn, or not much?
No, I love books, man. And I have a ton that I honestly I've read, you know, quite a few. And then I have a ton that I bought and I haven't read just because I don't have time. Like this is what I read lately. This is my book of choice. And so like, I don't have time for, you know, like reading for leisure at the moment. I mean, I guess I can read 10 pages a day like some people do, but man, I've just been embedded in this career that I've chosen. And so it's taken away from it, but I love books, man. I think it's great to be able to dissect somebody else's experience and perspectives and put it into play for yourself.
I asked you that because you seem like a book person. Do you have, obviously you just said you're focused on your career reading for that, but is there a book that you would maybe recommend to the listeners, or what's an all-time favorite book that you have off the top of your head?
Oh man, I'm terrible about remembering books and movies, to be honest. Like I could probably show you some.
Yeah, if you got a couple, man.
They're scattered throughout the house.
That's okay.
I don't know. I mean, I really love books, you know, about like Stoic philosophy and just self-improvement books. You know, I really like investment books too, because with investment books, you know, aside from what you get out of it, there's a lot of experience within these books that you get just from these people that are just so much smarter than I am, you know, in any aspect too. Like, you know, they have different thoughts, just as I have different thoughts. And whenever you're able to read a book, you know, I kind of look at it as like having a conversation with somebody, but more rather than like interpreting the conversation as it's going along, you know, and like putting in your feedback, you're just listening. You know, I equate reading to listening. You're listening to that author and their experiences, and you know, you can read a paragraph and then sit there and think about it, like, and relate it to yourself, and just really like get a lot out of it. And so I enjoy that.
For sure. Me too, man. Well, I've speaking of enjoyment, I've really enjoyed being able to listen to your story, Austyn, and some of your experiences and insights. If somebody wants to connect with you through social media, where can the listeners of Behind the Muscle podcast find you and follow along, Austyn?
So my Instagram is at austyn.jace, but Austyn spelled with a Y, Austyn. And then after that, there's only so many Austyns with a Y. You'll probably be able to find me from there. So, you know, I keep my page open. I have no reason to make it private. So I'm there.
Cool. Well, Austyn, thank you so much for your time, my man.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Behind the Muscle podcast, listeners, those of you watching on YouTube, once again, I just want to say thank you. If it wasn't for you, the podcast wouldn't exist. The YouTube is growing, the Instagram is growing. And again, thank you, because it's because of you guys. 2 favors I would ask of all of you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's important because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube, and then I shoot them out to the other podcast platforms. If you are tuning in right now through YouTube, why don't you leave in the comment section your favorite part of Austyn's story, or maybe something that he shared through our conversation. What is a takeaway? Because definitely Austyn has brought a different perspective from most of the other guests that I've brought onto the podcast, and there was a lot of insight. So leave that in the comment section. And then please take Austyn's episode, share it on all of your social media platforms. Make sure you tag Austyn and tag Behind the Muscle so that we know that you specifically listened to this episode and found great value in it. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.
Thank you.